All right, it's a big week for the Texans. It was a big day in the NFL today. Little championship action, some good stuff to see. Some decent news, I guess, if you're getting impatient when it comes to the DeMeco thing. I think we're gonna hear soon that DeMeco Ryans is interviewing with the Texans, and then we're probably going to get an announcement that DeMeco Ryans is going to be head coach of your Houston Texans. I expect that to happen. I anticipate myself, I'm Landry Locker, 10 to 2 Monday through Friday, Sports Radio 610 in the Loop, the show of record in the city, in my opinion. And this is the Locker Room, number one source of Texans digital content daily, right here. Subscribe, like. But I anticipate we're going to be live at NRG. There's going to be a press conference for DeMeco Ryans. I would, if I were a betting man and I were putting a over under on when the press conference would be, I would say no later than Friday. That would be my educated guess. I would say that Friday will be at the latest, could be Thursday. If I were betting on when the announcement happens, I think it's going to be Wednesday or Thursday. But I anticipate a press conference on Friday. I anticipate we'll be there. I anticipate we will get to interview DeMeco Ryans like we did Lovie Smith last year, and we'll get to pick his brain and figure out what's going on. So that's my prediction. I'm calling my shot. I know stuff can happen at the last second. Denver appears to have pivoted. Players on the 49ers are acknowledging that this is probably the last time that they played for DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans appears to want the job. The Texans have wanted him the whole time. There was a little bit of a scare with Denver, but I anticipate DeMeco Ryans is going to be the head coach of the Houston Texans. If I were putting a Las Vegas over-under, I would say by Wednesday, and then I think there'll be a press conference on Friday. That's where it is. And this only adds to it. This was Jonathan Gannon after the game. This is what he said after the Eagles advanced to the Super Bowl. And this is courtesy of Fox 29 in Philly.
Philly's keeping.
Might be your last one here because you might get the call.
No, Philly's keeping me. We're good, bad, or indifferent. I'm staying here.
All right, there you go. And typically when you say that, as my guy John McClain pointed out, typically when you say that, you're saying that because you've been informed that you are no longer being considered for the gig. So there you go. DeMeco Ryans is going to be the guy. I don't even know if they're going to waste Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon's time. And we'll figure out what happens with DeMeco Ryans. And then we go into the next phase of the offseason, most important, exciting, crucial offseason of Texans history. By the way, subscribe, like, if you have not. I promise you won't regret it. There's not a lot of sources for Texans daily digital content. This is one of the main ones, whether you're a Texans fan or not. Let's ride together. And hopefully this DeMeco stuff brings some excitement to where we get more people doing this. Obviously, I have the radio show for 4 hours. It's sucked talking about the Texans a lot of the time. They give you reason to be frustrated, but we always cover it to the best of our ability. And now, hopefully, better days are ahead. But after DeMeco takes the job this week, we're going to go on to the questions about what is the staff going to look like. Does Frank Ross stay? Does special teams coach Frank Ross stay? I don't know why DeMeco wouldn't want Frank Ross on his coaching staff, but maybe he has someone in mind. But, you know, DeMeco is going to be worried about defense. I'm sure he's going to be worried about offense, special teams. I don't think he's going to have like some sort of different philosophy than Frank Ross. So if, you know, he would like Frank Ross to stay, then I wonder if Frank Ross stays. If not, I could see Frank Ross ending up on Frank Reich's staff in Carolina. It's weird to say. Or I could see him somewhere else because he's very respected. He's very good at what he does. And the Texans special teams are really good. Then we go to the offensive side of the rock. What is the offensive staff going to look like? I don't know. What kind of offensive philosophy is he going to bring? He being DeMeco Ryans. The name Kubiak keeps coming up. I know Gary's got a couple of kids in town. We're going to talk to Gary probably. Gary's a listener of the show. He likes to bust my balls a little bit, and he knows Lopez. So we'll try to get Gary on this week, probably Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll get Gary on and see what he thinks about it. But I anticipate that this is going to be kind of like a sentimental thing for Gary, because I know he's always spoken fondly of DeMeco. He thinks the world of DeMeco, and I could see that there could possibly be, some sort of Kubiak blood. And Gary will be at training camp. Like, I roll my eyes at, the talk about Gary being on the staff and all this, just because he stresses out. Like, if you've seen Gary Kubiak lately, dude, he looks incredible. He's got tan. He almost looks like he did like when he first came to Houston. Like, he's chilling. His family's thriving. He's living his best life. He's got houses all over the place. He's got a ranch. He'll come by camp and check things out. And I'm sure that he's a phone call away for DeMeco Ryans. And I'm sure he'll be at NRG more than he has in a long, long time, because nobody liked Easterby and it was just kind of weird. But I don't like this talk about Gary Kubiak being on the staff. It's not going to happen. I don't think. But he's going to be a part. He's going to be helping out, and all that type of stuff. So we'll see what happens as far as where the Texans go from here, and what the staff is going to look like. We're going to have all the time in the world to figure that out. And quite honestly, is there going to be any staff where somebody goes, "Oh my God, that's awesome"? Like, most of the time, these people don't even know who these guys are, and they come out of nowhere and they end up either being good or they end up being guys that you hate by midseason. So we'll see what happens. There's a lot of offensive coordinator gigs open too. I think there's like 9 now, 8 or 9. How much of a jerk is Jerry Jones, by the way? How the hell are you going to news dump in the middle of the conference championship that you just fired your OC, man? How much of a narcissistic slime ball do you have to be to put that out there on a Sunday news dump in the middle of championship day? I respect it because it had the internet going nuts a little bit during the AFC title game. By the way, Kellen Moore already interviewing in Los Angeles, so he could end up there. But my God, Jerry, what the hell are we doing right now? Kevin Mays asks, "Am I live?" You bet your ass I'm live, man. I'm live as hell right now. And Houston is live as hell right now because DeMeco's coming here. So we'll figure out what happens with this whole thing. Denver, it seemed like they were going to go all in. I think DeMeco Ryans isn't dumb. If you're getting your first head coaching opportunity, you've already made $50 million as a player. Why would you want to be married to Russell Wilson for 3 years? Why? It's as bad of a season as Russell Wilson had. I think it's been an even more of an indictment on him as in the offseason, because he's costing coaches. Like, think about it this way. If the Denver Broncos had never made the Russell Wilson trade, let's say they never make the trade, let's say they hire Hackett, and let's say they have the exact same record that they have right now, they would have the 3rd pick in the draft, and they would have the most appealing job in football, because they could either trade for Aaron Rodgers, they could trade for Derek Carr, they could trade for Lamar Jackson, they could draft a quarterback at 3. They have underrated skill position guys. They have an already championship caliber type of defense. They have all of the prestige in the world. It's an awesome organization. They have ownership that's going to be willing to throw all kinds of money. That job is not appealing now because they made the worst trade, it looks like, maybe in NFL history. And now they have one of the worst contracts in the league. So that's really what happened with Denver and Houston. Now, if you're some sort of first-time coach like a Jonathan Gannon or I don't know Jim Harbaugh or something, and you just want to get in the league quickly, then yeah, jump on it. But if you're DeMeco Ryans and you have options, why in the hell are you going to do that? Why would you do that? There's no reason to. It is the locker room. Subscribe, the likes go a long way. Not for my ego, just for the algae rhythm. The subscriptions go a long way too. If you're a Texans fan, if you're not, ride along. Number one source of Texans digital content. We do this pretty much every day. We got the post game shows. I got my radio show 10 to 2 Monday through Friday on the Odyssey app, Sports Radio 610. And we got people in the chat. We'll get to the comments. Also going to bring in my buddy Mike Meltzer, Mad Dog Radio. Used to have a pulse of Houston. Not sure it's as strong as it used to be. I'm kind of questioning him a little bit lately. But we'll see about that. But yeah, subscribe, spread, download the Odyssey app, ride along. It's going to be a fun time. Meltsy, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you, Landry?
Very good. What do you think about this DeMeco Ryans thing, man? Obviously, you're familiar with his work. He is one of the most coveted guys on the coaching market. I think that's obvious. He is a guy who, let's be honest, the popularity is higher because he played here. Like if he played for the Raiders, the popularity wouldn't be as high. So any contrarian trying to say that, yeah, you're right, buddy. He would not be as popular if you're a former Raiders linebacker, DeMeco Ryans. That is correct. But what do you think about the hire as a whole? What are your concerns? What makes you happy about it? What makes you sad? How are you feeling about it?
I think it's a home run. If and when the Texans lock this up and hire DeMeco Ryans, I think it will mark their return to the National Football League for the first time since being up 24-0 to Kansas City 3 years ago in the divisional round. That's the simplest way I'll put it, and that is what I'll tweet, assuming, knock on wood, this gets done. For the last, 3 weeks, this coaching search so far has gone as well as you would hope for it to go. And that goes from the end of the Indianapolis game to the next 3 weeks. They don't dilly-dally with Lovey. They fire him that night. There are no questions heading into Monday. They have a news conference. Immediately upon that news conference, we knew the candidates. They were big names all over the league, like the names that they should have had on that list. They've interviewed so far the right people. It felt kind of tricky last week, about Thursday, Friday, before the Rappaport-Pelissaro stuff about, okay, well, they interviewed DeMeco, and they got it in before he canceled on Indianapolis, but it looks like he's unfortunately leaning Denver. And so then you're thinking, okay, they might have to, quote-unquote, settle for Gannon or Kafka or somebody like that. But if they land DeMeco Ryans, they are executing what a lot of people said that they could not do about 2 months ago.
Man, that was a hell of an era. That was a hell of an era, the DeMeco Ryans isn't coming here era. Pour one out for that.
So I actually have... Landry, I've experienced something very similar to this. Let me check my calendar. About 7-8 years ago. Because I'm not saying that DeMeco Ryans is Jim Harbaugh because he's never been a head coach. But Michigan had a very similar situation to this 7 years ago when they had a couple failed coaches in a row. The fan base was in open revolt. They were very angry. And there was one candidate who was just so obviously a great fit. And it was somebody who played at the University of Michigan. And it took a couple of months, but they finally got the job done. That feels similar to this for DeMeco Ryans. And assuming this gets done, there are going to be complications moving forward because now he's going to be the coach, which means he's going to be criticized. And when you hire somebody like this, you think kind of in the back of your mind, man, what if this doesn't work out? What does this mean? But I just think based on the evidence in front of you, what he was as a player, what he's done as a coach, if you can land him, this is worth the shot. This is worth the shot. This is the first thing that would make all the sense in the world that they have done in a long time, Landry.
And I don't think it's the end of the world if you miss on it. I don't think if you, as long as you're making the right picks and you're doing things right, you can give DeMeco a few years to figure it out. And I don't think that it's not the end of the world if you don't hire the right guy. It's not going to be it's not going to be one and done. DeMeco Ryan. Let me just make this very clear. Let me make this very clear to anyone who wants to even entertain the possibility and compare this to the Lovie Smith, David Culley situations. I'll look into the camera and I'll say this right now. And I can promise you this is on authority. I will get them to admit this publicly. DeMeco Ryans could go 0-17 and he would still be the head coach of the Texans in 2024. It's not going to be a one and done situation. It's not going to happen. So that's not even a possibility. And it's not even close to the same situation. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. But the one thing that is good is, look, I don't know how much Cal and Hannah had to do with this. I know that they were more involved in this than, in the past, and they didn't just trust, Easterby and Caserio. And it was a different situation. Let's be honest. It was a more appealing gig when it comes to assets, et cetera. So it was a more appealing gig. But I don't know if Nick Caserio makes this move, but it does seem like they're at least listening to the people, which is a good thing to me. I don't know if that's the end all be all. I don't want to sell DeMeco Ryan short and say, they just it's not like they drafted Johnny Manziel to get fans excited or something like that.
Yeah, this is different. This is very qualified candidate.
But if that was the tiebreaker that the fans were going to be excited, good, because you put yourself in a unique situation compared to other situations around the league where there's a lot of apathy. You don't have the sweat equity of other organizations. And if you need to give the fans something to be excited that includes a very highly qualified candidate, let's go for it. Let's go for it. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. And I think that at the very least, and I don't know what the dynamic's going to be with him and Nick Caserio, but I will say
that will be interesting.
I will say though, I think Caserio is going to have to work nicely with DeMeco.
I think you're right about that.
I think if you're asking me the shelf life, I could very easily see a situation where if old Nick doesn't get it right, DeMeco's here past Nick Caserio. So old Nick, it's not you and Jack anymore running around talking about turning the office into Google style offices and all this other crap and behind the scenes and Google and all that crap. You're going to have to work with DeMeco. And that means if DeMeco wants this quarterback, you're probably going to have to go with that quarterback. I don't care about your traits. If DeMeco wants to go with Will Anderson, you're going to have to go with Will Anderson. You're going to have to work together. And DeMeco will figure out how to work with Caserio, but make no mistake about it. For the last couple of years, it's been pitiful. Now, I was the one who came up with the Camp Caserio thing that we had going at Sports Radio 610. But Nick Caserio's kind of been the face of this organization for a couple of years. The new face of the Houston Texans. It's going to be this week. We're going to have a news conference probably by Friday. The new face of the Houston Texans and the straw that stirs the drink and the guy that everybody in that building is going to have to answer to is DeMeco Ryans, for better or worse. We don't know how good of a coach he's going to be, but that's what the situation is. And that's what the situation should be. And it excites me. And Nick could still help out. And DeMeco might fully trust Nick, but he's not. It's not going to be a, hey, I'm going to give you the players and blah, blah, blah. This is going to be Miko's team.
The power dynamic, the power sharing dynamic will be interesting. This idea that some of these national media types have that, they fired Culley after a year, they fired Lovie after a year. I mean, you said it a few minutes ago. There is basically zero chance, football reasons, that DeMeco Ryans, he would have, I'll put it this way. Once they hire DeMeco Ryans, assuming it happens, he would have the most job security of anybody in football operations, period.
No doubt.
Football ops. Not the whole building, because he's not going to have Vandy job security or anybody like that, or, Greg Grissom. But the people in football ops, right? The people in football operations, he would be the guy. He would have a longer runway than Nick Caserio would. I think this would be...
No doubt.
Landry, I think this would be a 3 to 5 year thing. And I know that sounds like a long time when I throw those numbers out, but they're gonna invest every avenue into making this right. This is going to be the polar opposite of David Culley and Lovie Smith.
Because the other thing is this, and this is the other thing about it. We'll bring in Stutz in a second. The other thing is this, Meltzy. It's that I can sit here and I can say, it's unfair how the national media, saying that saying that you would be hesitant to come here as a coach and you don't trust this organization to do the right thing is 100% fair. Like it's 100 trillion million % fair to say you don't trust, you don't know what the McNairs can do, and if there's confidence, et cetera. That's fair. Some of the other stuff that was said is not fair. Saying stuff about Bob McNair when he can't defend himself, saying that Cal is a certain type of way and he's nothing like that. Like that's not fair. But even with that said, even with the assets and even with what it is, the fact that DeMeco Ryans, when, outside voices were saying what they were saying, and you have like the national media types who shouldn't mean everything are saying this, the fact that DeMeco Ryans trusted them enough and he said no to Denver, no matter what the reason was, that's going to go a long way, and they're going to feel pretty loyal to DeMeco Ryans. But I'm not going to say he did them a favor because I think it's a good job, but he trusted them when a lot of people probably said you should not trust them. Not saying whether that's right or wrong, but he did that, and that's going to go a long, 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 long way with the McNairs and the people that make the decisions. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to ask questions like, again, assuming they hired DeMeco, like it's going to be interesting to talk about, okay, when do we expect to contend for the playoffs? Probably not this season, but 2024, 2025. Like there's going to have to be a timeline and some expectations set, but you'd be hiring basically the hottest coach on the market. And honestly, I get your point about the national media stuff because the organization has been kind of a bleep show the last couple of years. But I also when I look at the jobs that are available, I do think this is a viable job. They were caught in a tough spot the last 2 years. And also, I think it should be acknowledged that while hiring a good coach, or hiring a desired candidate would have been very tough 2 years ago, would have been hard last year, I can't help but notice that once we remove Jack Easterby from the equation, all of a sudden it turned into a normal coaching search. Like 2 years ago, mess, random candidates. Last year, McCown, Hines, Ward. It's like all these random candidates. No. Then Jack's out of the picture, and then they aggressively fire Lovey assertively. They interview the right people. It's totally different with Jack out of the building.
And that's the thing about it is that, the bottom line is the job wasn't as appealing the last 2 years. The process sucked though too. Like the process of it was such a disaster, and everything was so ridiculous. Like from the committee to all that other crap. What do you need a committee for? You're telling me Cal McNair can't pick up the phone and call somebody and ask him, like, why do you need to announce a committee? Because to me, when they had that committee crap, I was like,
who was on that? Andre,
it was Tony Dungy. It was Dre. Dungy. Like, you can't call Dre. Like Jimmy Johnson lives on a fishing boat, bro.
I would actively avoid those kind of committees. I hate those kind of committees because my thought on those people, Landry. Like, with all due respect to their football accomplishments, Super Bowl winners, all of that, they all have biases towards the people they know. I don't trust them. I don't trust the search committees either. You know what I trust? Hire the right people in the front office to find the right candidates. Exactly. I don't trust Jimmy Johnson. I don't trust Peyton Manning with his Adam Gase. Like, I don't trust any of these guys because they're going to recommend the people they know and they like. I don't trust them. I never did.
I'm with you. Cody Stoots joining us now. Cody Stoots, subscribe to his channel as well. Hey, get the likes going. If you're new to this, subscribe. You won't regret it. Number one source, daily Texans digital content. Cody Stoots has a channel as well. Stoots, you've been listening to us. Your thoughts on the DeMeco Ryans hire? Looks like it's going to happen. I don't even think they could screw this up. Any issue at all with this? Are there any reservations that you have?
No, and there's not any reservations that I have, and there shouldn't be any reservations because the Texans are hiring what is likely going to be the top candidate that gets hired. After a couple of seasons where they had just absolute embarrassing coaching searches and embarrassing results of those coaching searches, they operated like most NFL teams do when they go out there and they nail it from a coaching hire standpoint. And you guys talked about it there at the very end. There's no more search committee. There's no more talk to these people. The job's more attractive than it's ever been. Well, there's a laundry list of reasons why it's more attractive and the job's in a better situation. And some of those things were Texans self-inflicted that they've cleaned up. Deshaun Watson wanted out. That's why the job wasn't attractive the very first time Nick Caserio made a hire. And there was still the lingering Jack Easterby presence that was available for this organization. The second year, there's still the lingering Jack Easterby situation. And the job is still not attractive because, look, even if it had worked, the chance of success the way the Texans operated in the offseason, which was Pep Hamilton as the OC and Davis Mills as the quarterback, was so low that a really good coach wasn't going to attach his first year to that. Now, number 2 overall pick, lots of cap room, more cap room on the way when you adjust some contracts, get rid of some bums on the team. You shopped at the top, and you know what? You shopped at the top, and the top guy picked you. Didn't even talk to a couple of the other teams, told the other team no thanks, and now DeMeco Ryans picked you. Okay? He picked you, and this is weeks, months after these bogus reports that he wasn't interested in the job at all and he wasn't going to talk about the okay. And even if those were real, well, great job convincing him.
We never bought that. I
never bought it for a second. I told you the moment it got out there, don't buy it. And we talked about that for weeks. You've talked about it on the radio on this channel. I've talked about it on the radio on this channel. I never bought those, that he was never interested and wouldn't be interested. And even if those reports are right, well, then it's an even more impressive situation because the Texans went in there and changed his perception of the job. They shopped at the top, and they got a guy from the top, which is not something they did last year. It was something they couldn't do 2 years ago.
Well, the other thing is this, and I said this with Meltzy, like it's his organization. Like I know that Nick Caserio is still going to be like the GM, and he's still going to make he has to figure out how to work with DeMeco Ryans because he trusted them, and we look the you shouldn't take this job stuff was ridiculous, like it was a little bit fabricated, but he trusted them, and they're going to trust him, and Nick Caserio is going to have to work with them. He's going to have to figure it out. I don't even know if Nick Caserio is going to have final say as much. I don't know.
Okay, here's a question for you guys, and this is sort of a theory I've been rolling around and I've been thinking about. And the way Nick Caserio talked at his press conference at the end of the year, the Lovie Smith's fired press conference, the way he talked about it was regardless of who the guy is that they were going to hire, the Houston Texans wanted a rock star, and they wanted a guy who's the face of the franchise until a star quarterback arrives for this organization. And regardless of how Nick Caserio ended up at that, I believe that's what Nick Caserio wants. Nick Caserio didn't take this job thinking he was going to be the face of this franchise. Nick Caserio didn't take this job hoping to be the guy that's always got to answer for everything going on with this franchise. He took the job thinking Deshaun Watson was going to be his quarterback.
Well, he wanted to work with O'Brien too. Like the other thing is, like he initially wanted to work with O'Brien. So I do think Nick's kind of gotten like an undeserved reputation as some sort of slimeball weirdo because he had slimeball weirdo company stuff that was always trying to politic. I think
pushing Nick to the front feels like it was very much a Jack Easterby move. Like pushing Nick as the guy and the face and the person you got to believe in and stuff like that. That felt like a Jack Easterby move. Look where Nick Caserio came from. Look where Caserio came from. He doesn't want the general manager to be the biggest story about a team. He doesn't want the general manager talking about the team. He wants a badass coach and a badass quarterback leading a team, and then he's in behind the scenes helping them win.
I think there's something to that. The issue for Nick was that he was the only guy left because once they hired Culley, he wasn't going to be the face of the franchise. Even with Lovie, that wasn't fully going to be the case. And so ultimately, given the amount of power that he got, he was going to be the face of it to some degree or another. And now that's going to change with this hire this week. But I have to wonder, like, I'm just going to throw it out there. Is there maybe a possibility, like I had somebody text me today wondering how long Caserio is going to last. Do we think, just kind of like, throwing it out on the table, do we think it's possible that DeMeco wants to work with somebody who he's worked with before, like Adam Peters in San Francisco? Is that something that's possible?
No, it's possible. And again, Caserio, this is going to be something where Nick Caserio is going to either have to figure out how to work with DeMeco Ryans or he's going to be gone. Like it's not the other way around. Like the shelf life of Nick Caserio is not longer than the shelf life. Matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if DeMeco Ryans gets a 6-7 year contract and Nick has 4 years left on his deal. He's going to have to work with him. And that's just where we're at right now. And maybe they can work together because I think Nick can work with guys. And maybe look, it would have been unrealistic for Nick to come here and just fire Jack Easterby, because it's like when a manager takes over somewhere, you've got to at least see how stuff goes. And Jack Easterby did have a lot of stuff close to the vest, so you got to figure it out. So maybe maybe Caserio was ready to does not miss Jack. I don't know. But he's going to have to work with DeMeco, or else he's going to be gone.
Yeah, the next big firing is not the head coach; it's the general manager if things don't work. But if you're Nick Caserio and you're one of the, what was the report and the rumor when he signed his contract? One of the 5 highest paid general managers in football. I mean, you're not trying to torpedo the situation. You're going to try to make this work as best you can. Like, the ideal situation for DeMeco Ryans and Nick Caserio is that it turns out to be a great marriage.
Yeah, and that's my thing. Like, nobody's sitting here saying, Nick needs to go. He needs to know his role. And the point is he's going to have to work with DeMeco. Like, that's it. Like, and I think he probably knows that. I don't think we're breaking any news. The point is that Nick's not just it's not DeMeco just sits there. I can promise you. Like, whatever the conversations were, whatever discussions they had, that's what's going to happen. It's his situation.
What do we think that looks like? Because that makes sense to say. I'm curious how it plays out in practice. Like, for instance, I think the decision at number 2, like, I don't know if it's as simple, Landry, as, DeMeco Ryans really wants to bring in Will Anderson. I think the decision on whether to draft a quarterback at number 2 overall is not just a DeMeco or Nick Caserio. That's organizational.
That's a common sense. And that's a common sense. Like, everybody, and I'm sure they've already had that discussion. Like, we're saying this. I'm sure that discussion, if they haven't had it, they'll have it when the second interview comes through.
I don't think you could have gone through this interview process and specifically asked which QB these guys like, because that would have been foolish, because that's not what they focused on. That's not what they paid attention to. They haven't taken the time to do that. But the process absolutely should have happened with, we're taking a quarterback at 2. Do you want to coach that guy? Like that should be a prerequisite for the coach. Like there should not be any sort of like discussion about what they're doing at 2. It should be which quarterback they're taking at 2.
Keep the comments coming in. Subscribe, by the way, Locker Room. Subscribe to Stoots. I'd say it's probably the second best source of Texans digital daily content. No disrespect, Cody.
I'll get my numbers up if I'm going to try to get offended by that, So, yeah, you're number 1. I'm just trying to be number 2.
Let's get Cody in there. But subscribe, all that type of stuff. In the Loop, 10 to 2, Sports Radio 610. Maverick Best Op says we need to start looking for OCs, especially since we have a head coach. Look, he knows who his OC is going to be.
That's a DeMeco thing. Yeah.
He knows he's not like that's the guys who you hear about around the league that might not get jobs. And when you hear like the saying, well, he interviews poorly, and some people say, well, what does that mean? It means he doesn't have his coaching staff prepared. He can't show that he has anything to do with everything. He doesn't know what's going on with the roster. Like, that's what happens when they say he interviews poorly. I can assure you that DeMeco Ryans knows who his offensive coordinator is going to be, or he has a list of 2 guys. It's not like you get the job and then you say, oh, holy crap, I got to put together a staff. That's not how that's going to happen.
That was one of the questions that would have had to be answered in the interview process.
Yeah, that's one of the main things because you're hiring a defensive head coach. You're probably drafting a quarterback at 2. This is going to be one of the top 2 things that you talk about. The name that I think people are hearing is Bobby Slowick, who is the offensive passing game coordinator for the 49ers.
Okay. So LaFleur he had that title, right? Or was he the running?
I think he might have been the running, as I recall.
Or was McDaniel the running? I think McDaniel was the running.
McDaniel was the running. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, McDaniel was the running, and LaFleur, who just got fired by the Jets.
And got hired by the Rams. He was the passing. So it's the same. It's the same type of situation that they had there. By the way, I don't think LaFleur was that bad with the Jets. I think he's kind of a scapegoat. I agree.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's going to come up, and it's come up a few times in here, is he's a defensive minded coach, offense, blah, blah, blah. If Robert Saleh, if the Jets had won those 2 games, and we won't go through what happened, but if let's say the Jets had the number 1 pick in 2021 and they got Trevor Lawrence instead of taking Zach Wilson, there's a chance they might have played today, and we might be talking about how great the Jets are, and Robert Saleh would be the flavor of the month. And we would say we want to get the next Robert Saleh, which is naturally DeMeco Ryans. Sometimes it's just as simple as you got to find a quarterback. And
I agree.
Your quarterback, you can figure out. Like Justin Herbert's had 2 different offensive coordinators, and you know what? As much as they want to scapegoat it, and I know he's going to be on his 3rd, the offense has been fine because they have Justin Herbert, and Brandon Staley's a defensive coach. So oh, well, you need an offensive. Bill Belichick was a defensive coach. He had Tom Brady for 2 decades. It was never a problem. Same with Mike Tomlin.
5 of the 6 longest tenured coaches in the NFL are defensive guys. You know why they're the longest tenured guys? Because they've had good quarterbacks. Like Belichick had Brady. Harbaugh had Flacco playing well, and then he had Lamar Jackson. Pete Carroll had Russell Wilson for all those years.
You would in a vacuum prefer somebody with an offensive background.
Why are you always putting us in a vacuum, Mike?
Vacuum.
You're always wanting to put us in a vacuum.
Why was this conversation need to be had in a vacuum? Why couldn't it just be out of a vacuum right now?
In a vacuum, out of a vacuum, you'd likely prefer an offensive guy, but this is a special situation. Like this was for you, the top coaching candidate on the market for a whole host of reasons. And you have to adjust with the fact that he's a defensive guy. But I think that comes from, most importantly, drafting the right quarterback, hiring the right OC, having a pipeline of offensive guys behind them when that guy eventually gets hired, somebody else. Like these are all considerations that need to be accounted for.
People keep asking about Kellen Moore, POS Jack Easterby, definitely a listener of the show. I think the Chargers are going to scoop him up Tuesday.
Boy, what a maneuver by Kellen Moore. Like how
Mike
much
McCarthy's calling plays.
God, what a disaster. I mean, and sneaking that in like the middle of conference championship Sunday was ridiculous by the Cowboys. What a maneuver by Kellen Moore going from this Dak McCarthy nightmare to going to coach Herbert in his 4th season.
I have a dream offensive coordinator, which, by the way, can I throw a quick Bobby Slowick fun fact in there for you?
Sure.
Yes.
So he's the offensive passing game coordinator for the 49ers, so he's been connected to DeMeco's staff. Started his career on the defensive side of the ball, was a defensive assistant and a defensive quality control coach before he moved to offense in San Francisco. So somebody in San Fran felt pretty strongly about his mind to move him over to offense. I have my dream offensive coordinator, and Landry's going to poo-poo it. I can already tell you. Is a guy that DeMeco had to match wits with in his time as the defensive coordinator and a defensive coach in San Francisco. And by having this guy on the staff, you can hopefully have him in the background saying, "Whoop, hey, I made that mistake. Don't make this mistake." Cliff Kingsbury.
Why would he want to do that? He's getting paid to do nothing.
Yeah, I don't know if he would want to do that.
Why would I poo-poo him as an OC?
I just thought you might poo-poo it.
No,
I thought you might too. It seems like your kind of thing to poo-poo.
You think that Cliff's just going to sit?
Yes,
I think he will for a year. Yeah.
Yes.
That guy's going to go crazy sitting for a year.
I don't know about that.
I mean, he's been a head coach for a while.
Curtis Randall, how did DeMeco's defense play tonight? They held Philadelphia, I think, 111 yards below their average for the season, and I think 11 yards under their rushing total. If you watched that game and felt like the defense got cooked on San Francisco, I don't know what you were watching. San Francisco had no quarterback. They turned the ball over a couple of times. If you felt like he got cooked, I don't know what to tell you. And if you were watching that game acting like that had any implication on anything, I don't know what to tell you.
Is Curtis telling me that he'd be pissed if the Texans lost in the AFC Championship game? Because I'd kill somebody to be in an AFC Championship game.
They allow 3.8 yards per play. The Eagles had 269 yards. I don't even think Hurts played that well. Yeah, you want to knock them for their penalties on defense, but they had no quarterback all day. I mean, they had no quarterback all day.
Yeah, they had no quarterback.
Plus, it doesn't matter for me if he pitched a shutout or they gave up 100 today. That is going to have basically zero relevance to whether he succeeds in Houston or not over the long term.
Yeah, one game doesn't make or break a guy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's one game.
I don't think anything. Yeah, I don't care if they would have given up 700 yards. This is a good hire. And the other thing is, it's not really. It's really just there's just really not. Unless if you are one of the people who wants an offensive-minded coach, that's cool. Like I can understand that. I mean, that's what most of the good teams have as an offensive-minded coach. I just don't think it's as simple as this guy's offensive-minded, so this is why it's working. Like, did you see these quarterbacks today? Like, are you telling me that if I don't know if Mac Jones were the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals or the Kansas City Chiefs. What was Andy Reid doing with Alex Smith? Like, as good of an offensive-minded coach is, what was Andy Reid doing with Alex Smith? Nothing. He didn't win a Super Bowl until Patrick Mahomes came.
He was doing well, but he wasn't.
They were okay, but we weren't
level.
sitting there saying, "Oh, we really want that."
Correct.
What is everybody's big concern that the offensive guys, like the coordinator, is going to be awesome, and then someone's going to hire him away? Is that the big concern that everybody has? That'd be awesome. Okay, because you know what would happen? You know what happened in Philadelphia if Shane Steichen left? Everybody would be trying to knock down Nick Sirianni's door to be his offensive coordinator. Like, you know what happened if Brian Callahan left in Cincinnati? Everyone would try to knock down Zach Taylor's door to be his offensive coordinator because it's a good situation. If you get hired away as an offensive coordinator, that means your offense is badass. Like, I want a badass offense. I hope this guy's only here for 2 years.
I think the concern would be, and this is like, especially compared to what we've had in Houston the last 3 years, this is, wealthy people problems. The concern might be like, okay, Sean McDermott's been a very good coach in Buffalo, but then they had a collapse at the end of the season. They clearly suffered some kind of loss going from Brian Daboll to Ken Dorsey. Does it make it hard to sort of sustain your offense, even with a quarterback who ends up panning out? But again, compared to what we've had, I'd love to have that problem. like that would be a problem we would all love to have in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it really, like, hopefully you get the franchise quarterback at 2, and then you can figure it out. But I think you can, if you have the right quarterback, like your offense, no matter if you lose your coordinator or not, you're going to adjust. You're going to adjust around him.
Can I push back on something Mike just said?
Yes.
Push back.
Like, okay, the Bills on offense under Daboll were the 5th best offense in football. They were the 2nd best offense this year. They went to the same round in the playoffs that they did the previous year. Like, I know it wasn't as crisp, but we're really sitting here acting like Ken Dorsey did a real bad job.
No, I don't think he did, but I thought it was pretty clear. If you watch Buffalo the last month, they were not the same offensively.
Well,
they were not.
Their teammate almost died on the football field.
I agree. I think that was a big part of it. I agree. I think that was a big part of it.
Like, we didn't have these concerns about Buffalo's offense when they were the number 2 offense in the NFL, like heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I thought there were concerns about Allen turning it over at a much higher clip than last season.
I thought Mia Kimes kind of put it together, and this might go back to Daboll maybe, but she said he was basically trying to play skee ball and trying to get 100 the whole time instead of like throwing it in the middle every once in a while. Thought it was a good analogy. That was a really good analogy.
I like that. But again, these are all like, I would love to have these problems.
Yeah, I would too. And hopefully we get them.
And DeMeco, people have talked about DeMeco Ryans as a future football coach and head coach for a long time, going back to when he was a rookie with the Houston Texans. I imagine things like offensive staffing, what he wants it to look like, is something that he has thought about for quite a while. That I am confident of.
I think there's like I think there's kind of like a gap between, and I don't think we've gotten there yet, between like blowhard old defensive minded coaches and like new age that don't necessarily interfere in things and have like some sort of philosophy. Like, I don't think Brandon Staley intervenes with the offense, but if you have like an old guy like a Lovie Smith, he's going to tell you, well, we need to run the ball this many times and we need to average this many yards per carry, and this is what we're going to do. I think there's just like a difference in offensive and defensive guys, like the new age and the old age offensive guys.
Oh, absolutely. And here's something to think about too with some of these guys, these young coaches, the guys like under 45, under 40, that get hired. How many of them go out there and just hire badass staffs? Like,
that's what it seemed like the last couple of years. That, like, McVay, LaFleur.
McVay is a really good example. Like, yeah, he had some offensive guys, and people sort of overrated like the connection offensively on some of that stuff. But like McVay's offensive guys, O'Connell, Zach Taylor, guys like that. McVay's defensive guys that coach defense for McVay. He brought in Wade Phillips initially to run his defense. That worked out really well. When Wade didn't work out, he had Brandon Staley. Ejiro Evero was on his staff previously. Like, McVay hired a really good staff. Zach Taylor hired a badass staff. in Cincinnati. Obviously, Sirianni's got a really good staff. McDaniel, okay, here's a great example. McDaniel had a staff. Defensive coordinator wasn't getting it done. Boom, you're out of there. Went and got one of the best defensive coordinators on the market at Vic Fangio. Same thing with O'Connell. O'Connell put together a staff defensive coordinator, wasn't cutting it. Boom, you're out of here. You're fired. Went and hired a new guy. We're working on a new guy. So it's like, I like these young guys' ability to hire staffs. Like it used to be, you need to have the relationships and you got to know this many people and you've had to have coached a bunch of different places. Okay, well, these young guys have badass staffs all the time. So, like I obviously have high expectations for DeMeco, but because other young guys have had successful staffs right away, I have high expectations for his staff too.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that he's going to have an offensive take and he's going to figure some stuff out.
I mean, he's going to bring in guys from the 49ers to run the offense. I am kind of curious to see how he sets it up also, not just offensively, which is going to be the main talking point, but, defensively. Like, is he going to be the guy who calls plays? Is there a DC nominally? Just I'm always interested in what the whole staff looks like. What's the resume of these guys? Where are they coming from?
Is he
like,
keeping
there are a whole bunch
Miles
of
Smith?
stories. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is he keeping Frank Ross, somebody like that?
Yeah, because I don't think
he's keeping Miles Smith.
Yeah, Miles Smith. Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think that
big surprise.
If you don't have to worry about special teams, I think you're fine. I don't think there's going to be like some sort of philosophical take on special teams. If a guy is top in the league or top 5 in the league in DVOA on special teams, and he's like one of those non-ego like kind of guys, I don't know why you wouldn't want Frank Ross here.
Yeah. I would agree with that
at all.
Plus,
so I would hope that Frank stays. I'm guessing to go with Frank. Maybe he wants to go work with Frank Reich.
I'm guessing that probably came up in the first DeMeco interview, like when they talk about his staff, like, hey, we don't want to push anything on you, but we do have what we think is a top-notch coordinator. Here's the evidence to back it up. Frank's a young up-and-comer. Like, let us know what you think, kind of thing.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that easily. I would be down with that. People are saying there's like a Josina Anderson tweet. I don't see anything. She's just talking about staffing possibilities. There hasn't been anything crazy yet.
I think people were referring. She had something about an hour ago about how a wonderful family moment was coming up on her timeline, but I think it was about Brandon Graham and it being his last game in Philly, and like his wife was on the field with him, something along those lines.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was apparently Graham's family crashed her interview with him on CBS Sports HQ.
Josina's been crazy on this whole thing, man.
There were a few things say that were funnier than Figgy's fake Josina Anderson tweet.
Yes. Yes. Very much so.
That was funny.
She was tweeting about what did Josina talk about? Josina was on the
it's always vague and weird.
Let's find the Figgy thing.
The Figgy was funny.
Figgy was hilarious on that. Let's see. Figgy said,
this is like right during the first game. I think I have it. Are you pulling it up?
Figgy said the Josina tweet coming. Texans are interested in DeMeco Ryans, but interesting listening today to my personnel and other people livelihoods are impacted by this domino effect, but folks have the right to continue weighing decisions, outcome, and games and other potential jobs.
That was the tweet of the day for me.
It really was.
What has been the craziest national media type thing throughout this whole thing?
I've been annoyed. It's mostly probably a Mike Meltzer thing, but and I know Peter King was writing probably right after this happened when they fired Lovey initially 3 weeks ago. One of the first things he wrote was like, "Well, might it now be the time for Josh McCown to finally be hired in Houston?" And Florio wrote kind of a similar story like a couple days later, like, they wanted to hire him 2 years ago. They wanted to hire him last year. Is this now going to be the time where they hire Josh McCown, who has been obviously nowhere even close to the radar in this coaching search? Those two things have annoyed me, and I will be pointing that out at some point this week.
Yeah, the McCown thing, that was even still a possibility was weird. Stephen A saying that no black coach should take the gig. That was kind of weird. I don't know. That was weird. The DeMeco Ryans wants nothing to do with the gig. That was weird.
The fact that that made its way across the football world based off the back of one report, and everybody just kind of leaned on that one report. Nobody else ever reported anything close to that was also very strange. I had people, I would say, I don't believe it. And then someone would send me a link to a story and they'd be like, well, here's this guy in San Francisco. And then I'd click through the story and it's like, well, this report, and it's that same original report that was like, DeMeco's not interested. And so it's like, okay. So it's like that one report was the only report that ever said DeMeco Ryans wasn't interested.
Bomani Jones, who I like, tweeted today basically saying that DeMeco should avoid this job because he'd be avoiding a bad situation.
Which I don't really like. Look, if you think the organization is bad and stuff, that's fine. Just comparing Lovie Smith and David Culley's situation to this, I think it's just really kind of silly. Like if you just say they're not a good organization, you don't trust Cal McNair, you don't trust the organization to make the right decision, yada, yada, yada. I can understand that. I mean, that's your opinion. And quite honestly, like the beginning of the Cal ownership tenure hasn't gone well, but comparing it to Lovie and David Culley, I just don't understand the comparison.
My disagreement with Bomani and other people who have said similar things is that, listen, nobody's been more critical of Cal than I have been the last, couple of years. I mean, it's been mostly a complete debacle, but it's not like Cal McNair and this ownership and the organization exists as like a concept in the ether. You are what your actions are. That's what ownership is. That's what an organization is. An ownership and an organization is, what do they do? Who do they hire? Do they win games? And this hire, assuming it's made, that is what I grade them on. Like, the reason why we have talked about them as a bad organization is Deshaun wanting out and the weird botch way they hired Caserio and the Culley coaching search and last year and ending up with Lovie. It's not like the organization is bad in some like mysterious spiritual way. We've criticized the organization for being ineffective and bad and dysfunctional for the actions that have happened the last 3.5 years, going all the way back to the firing of Brian Gain in the spring of 2019. If they hire DeMeco Ryans, it will be the first thing that they have done that's made basically all the sense in the world since I don't even know when. Like that to me is the distinction. An organization is what they do, not who they are. It's what they do. And hiring DeMeco Ryans to me is the right decision at this time.
The problem with national media folks parachuting in on the Texans is they talk about them 3 times in the past 5 years. Deshaun did something cool in primetime. Deshaun wants out. Whoops, the Texans screwed up. Texans fired Culley. Texans fired Lovie. It's 4 times in the past 5 years they've talked about this organization. Like, you just parachute in. Like, how many Texans players could Bomani Jones name? Could Stephen A. Smith name? Like, those people they don't live it like fans. They don't live it like us that cover the team.
Fair.
They just parachute in.
Did First Take spend 12 minutes on the Lovie thing 3 weeks ago? I think they did.
Yeah,
we gotta no. Oh, Landry, I have my new favorite national media idiocracy about this whole thing, where they act like Romeo Crennel got screwed and count him as a head coach. That again,
how did poor Romeo's name came up? He was having the time of his freaking life. He had a cush job. He was literally just riding around in a golf cart getting paid, and he got to be an interim coach for a while, and they act like Romeo Crennel was just dying to get that head coaching gig.
This
will be the last thing that he wanted
when the season ended.
This will be the 5th coach in 4 years.
Was crazy.
And Romeo Crennel, and it's like, well, hold on, Romeo's an interim. How come nobody talks about everybody else interim?
I hate when people count interim coaches as the head coach when you go over a timeline. It really bothers me.
Yeah, the Romeo thing was bad. That was bad.
That's bad. That's having zero sense.
I asked Hannah and Cal about that, and they were even like, "What? That's weird. That was bad. Bizarre. Nobody wants the gig was weird. Lovie Smith and David Culley, they were beneficiaries of a bad situation. They got opportunity that they wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. I mean.
By the way, nobody's running to hire them.
Yeah, how come nobody's banging down Lovie Smith's door to be a DC right now?
And you can say no one would have won. You can say no one would have won last year. That's fair. But
fair.
But that's not the point. Like they benefited from
They were worse.
the chaos.
The football team was worse. That's why it's like, oh, well, the situation was bad. Well, no, the situation was better than the previous year, and they looked worse. It's a direct reflection of the head coach.
Isaac Lord, he's got a lot of takes today. He says all the NFL owners laugh at the Texans like the last child. That's true, sir.
That's fine. Keep laughing.
Yeah.
But I think
100.
this,
that's 100% true, man. You're saying a lot, but that's very true. Like, yes, they've been a joke. They've been not good. That's true. So, yes, there you go, Isaac.
I do think this hire would begin to change the narrative. Obviously, you got to back it up with good draft choices, better performances on the field, but I do think nationally this would begin to change the narrative on this franchise.
Yes, it would. And I think it will. I think it just kind of goes away. I think a lot of the narrative has just been kind of like some low-hanging fruit type stuff. On top of their own wrongdoing and their own incompetence. So, but yeah, I think it just kind of goes away, and then we see what happens with DeMeco Ryans. And you'll have the occasional, like, we're really going to judge him and see how much of an opportunity they give him to succeed. Like, we're going to hear that from, like, Stephen A. on DeMeco and stuff. But like I said, DeMeco could go 0-17 next year. He will be back the next year. Promise you. He's not going to be one and done. Nope. And we're going to see what happens. It's going to be, he's got all the assets. The Deshaun stuff is gone. The $75 million dead cap is gone. They're approaching the offseason with money. They got the second pick. Screw you, Nick, for screwing that one up and letting Brandon Cooks punk you. But yeah, it's a good opportunity for him. And they got a division where Tennessee is at a crossroads. Indianapolis, good God, Indianapolis. You want to talk about the Texans?
Can't wait till they hire Saturday,
dude.
Their fan base sounds like they're in revolt mode.
Indianapolis has done the Texans a lot of favors. DeMeco didn't even talk to them.
Yes, well,
and they interviewed 13 people.
I think they interviewed 15.
They interviewed Evero for like 14 hours the other day, which sounds like somebody's version of hell. But yeah, they're basically, depending on their hire, they're kind of turning it into what the Texans have been the last couple of years. It's what it feels like. DeMeco, by the way, I said this on Mad Dog Sports Radio yesterday. I'm not saying, assuming they hire DeMeco, they're going to like start selling out games. But once they hire DeMeco, like they will start selling more tickets.
No. I said this last week. I said the Texans are less than 2 weeks away from having a big increase in season ticket sales.
Yes.
There were two guys that could have done that. It would have been Sean Payton and DeMeco Ryans immediately.
Yes.
So for what that's worth, I mean, there was a time where they just sold out everything. They are very close to having an increase in season ticket sales. They're going to have more players around. Maybe they can increase the quality of the legends now too. Like maybe we can get like, some better ones showing up more consistently instead of me having to use Wikipedia 9 times out of 10.
I am kind of curious,
Suits. Come
I'm
on,
laughing. I didn't say anything.
I'm kind of curious. Like, assuming they hired DeMeco,
he played in 2002. Okay, never heard of him.
What the introductory press conference looks like? Because I
kid. No, there's going to be Gary's going to be there. Kubiak will be there. Arian will be there. Andre will be there.
Yes.
Walter
Arian will be there.
But if they can get Arian out there, that would be something.
Yo, if you
How much
get
you want
Arian
bet?
Foster re-involved in this organization and caring about football again, then you've done a yeoman's work.
He's talked about it. He's talked about it. He was joking about coaching. He ain't going to coach, but he was saying
coach Arian Foster. Okay.
Yeah, he was saying that he thinks Andre wants to be a front office guy, and then he was saying like, joking about like all the players coming back. I think Arian will be there. For sure. I would bet you.
That would surprise me.
He lives here,
cool.
right?
Yeah, I think he lives here. Yeah, he's kind of
I know he has a crib here.
Yeah.
I played poker by him at one of Wade's events.
I won a hand against him at that event, actually.
I let him win. I let him have my chips. So I just said, hey, here.
Weak. What the hell is that? You let him win.
I don't like poker. I don't have the patience. And people wanted to play with Arian. They didn't want to play with my ass. So here's more chips for Arian to last longer. I went all in when I had like a 2 and a 4.
My God.
Hey, if I got to put him over, I'll put him over.
What's going on here?
If I got to put him over, I'm put him over. But I think Arian's going to be there. Walter's going to be there.
They're gonna try to bring as many as they can over there.
No doubt.
Where are they going to? Are they going to have the press conference on the floor at NRG? Not a lot of spaces you can have.
They can use that club area, right? They did it with Lovey last year.
Yeah, but if you use the club area and you're talking about like 50 former Texans showing up.
Here's a question: would JJ come? Because they had the dinner last night, so these guys are here, or some of them are here.
Yeah, JJ will be there too. JJ's gonna be. I mean, telling you, man, like this.
Landry's saying everybody is showing up.
All right, if you're only bringing
JJ might not be here right now, but he will be here.
If you're only bringing 11 of them, like how we're cutting it off at 11. JJ, Arian. This.
Wait, you only get to bring 11 former Texans.
11 former Texans are at DeMeco's.
This is easy.
At DeMeco's presser.
This is easy. You ready?
JJ.
Let's start. Let's start with Kubiak. Does he count?
No, I'm talking about players.
Kubiak doesn't count. Come on, make it more selective. Let's make Kubiak count.
Okay, well, Kubiak.
Andre. Does he count?
Okay. Kubiak, Andre,
yeah,
JJ.
I get to invite him. I don't have to predict. This is I get to invite him.
Yeah, it's the hypothetical. You only get 11 because the space is limited.
Andre, JJ, Arian.
Okay.
J-Joe. Owen Daniels. Cushing.
How about Jonathan Joseph?
Kevin Walter can wait. Kevin Walter's going to have to wait. I got to fill the tables first. No. I like K. Walter. He's my guy. I like K. Walter, but I got to give Cushing. Cushing. We need that meathead presence, so we need Cushing.
I love Cushing.
We need
J-Joe.
We already have J-Joe.
I don't know. Oh, did you? Okay.
Chris Myers.
Yep.
Chris Myers has to be there.
There's 8.
I got to invite Wade. Wade can come.
There's
9.
I
think Wade should be there. Yeah.
Wade can come.
Matt Schaub.
Schaub. That's 10.
That's 10.
Yeah, that's 10.
Is Walter making it or not? Is he going to be there or not?
I'm wondering.
Do we want drunk Jacoby in the? No, I'm just kidding.
No. Well, no. I got to think about if there's like a teammate that I could just for sure feel like, oh yeah, that guy just brings me back to the DeMeco Ryans era of Texans football. Is there some teammate that would jump off the page?
Yeah, we focused on the 2010, 2011.
Yeah, we focused on guys who were kind of before, after-ish his time, when they were.
Well, you know who's going to be there, no matter what.
Vontae Leach.
Maybe, but no, I'm thinking of somebody different. This guy will be there.
Travis Johnson will be there.
Travis will be. That's close. Not quite the person I was thinking of. Not quite Travis, but I'm sure Travis will be there. How about our guy, Chester Pitts?
Oh, he's there.
Chester's there. He will be there.
Yeah, Chester and him are tied actually.
Can we get Mario Williams there?
Yeah, that was the next one I was thinking about.
Mario's not doing anything. We can bring him back around.
That if Mario showed up, that would surprise.
Everyone's like, "Damn, I hadn't seen Mario Williams in a long time."
How about Bernard Pollard?
That would be fun. BP.
How about Jacques Reeves?
Oh God.
Who was the no-fly zone guy?
Brandon Harris.
Yeah, how about Brandon Harris? Let's get him back here.
Oh my God.
Eric Winston, I feel like is probably too busy doing.
Nah, he's got other stuff going.
He's got a lot going on.
He's got a hell of a lot going on.
You got to get Mario in there so you can have that whole draft class together. Yeah, that's one of the best draft classes. And I mean, that's the best draft class in team history.
David Anderson, Sean Cody, or a few others that come to mind.
DA's got too much going on with his
he's got too much going on. Okay.
Technology ass.
Wally Lundy, you got to get him out there.
Someone said Jonathan Wells he'll be there, but they didn't play together, did they?
Amobi Okoye?
No, I don't think so. Moby could. I don't know where he lives. That wouldn't surprise me.
Wasn't he?
Amobi.
He was around. He was around.
He was on his team for a couple
He was
years.
yeah. They were teammates for a while.
Yeah, Amobi
Yeah,
got drafted. Amobi was Rick Smith's first
07?
ever draft pick.
Yeah.
Yes.
The point is, there's going to be a lot of guys there. The vibes are going to be crazy.
Yeah.
And
The vibes would be
yeah,
there would be vibes.
there'll be a lot.
This really takes me back because, like, just me personally, I got here in 2010. And so, I covered the team with Schaub and Andre and all those guys. And, like, obviously DeMeco was on that team for the next couple of years. Like, it's kind of crazy how time goes so fast and yet slowly. It kind of freaks me out in a weird way. And I'm sure probably a lot of people, because that 2012 team, that 2011, that doesn't seem that long ago.
But it is.
I know.
There's been a lot of chaos. We've had probably, like, if you go like 2019 to now, like it honestly feels like it was 20 years.
It's like dog years. We've aged in dog years.
Well, I even think
years.
I even think the firing of Lovey feels like, I mean, it's been 3 weeks today, right?
Yep.
It feels like it happened months ago.
Yeah,
that's very fair.
It's been wild to see, like, the eras, like, kind of like it feels like JJ played for this team a million years ago. Like, he's done playing football, and it's like it feels like it was like a million years ago, and really it was just a couple seasons ago. Like, there's so many, just like O'Brien's had a whole nother, like, career, and he's back in the NFL now. Like,
yeah, he's back.
Which when do the Patriots show up on the schedule? When's that happen? Hopefully in the next couple of years.
They got Deshaun next year again.
Yep.
What there's a couple of questions that I starred that I wanted to get to.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, this is interesting because what this reminds me of is when a college sports team, football or basketball, hires a famous alumni to coach their university. Is that a fair analogy?
Doesn't always work out.
It doesn't always work out, but it can work out. Like, Kirby Smart went to Georgia, I believe. And so it's one of these. I say this because I've seen some criticism about, like, oh, well, you'd be doing this out of nostalgia and you'd be doing this because he played there. But I think that's a real chicken or egg thing, because if you are DeMeco Ryans, like, part of the reason why you're taking the job is because you played for the Texans. Like, if Kirby Smart didn't go to Georgia, he might not have taken that job, or Harbaugh at Michigan, like those kind of situations. Like, do you know what I mean by that chicken or egg thing? Because they're an alumni of a professional team or a college team, like, you have the ability sometimes to hire people who otherwise wouldn't be people on your radar.
Well,
and yes, it can cut both ways, but you have the ability to land good candidates. And part of it is because they happen to have experience where you are.
It's so rare that guy simultaneously is one of, if not the top candidate as well. Like, obviously, Kirby Smart, I mean, the success he had with Nick Saban and the length of time, like, he was biding his time a top candidate. Harbaugh, top type of candidate when they get him. But, like, I think it's probably more prevalent in college basketball, where you see the famous name show up and it's like, ooh, this isn't quite working as well.
Patrick
like,
Ewing would be an example of that.
Yeah, but, like, it's so rare to have that inherent connection to the team and be the top candidate, and to have it be available in the NFL. It's very rare to see that.
C. Royce says that he's hoping for Eric Bieniemy to go to Indy as their next head coach. I think that's going to happen.
He's taking OC interviews.
Man, did you see him? Did you see him before that final play against Kansas City? Surprised he didn't go get a hot dog in the stand. I'm surprised he didn't go get a hot dog in the stands. Looked like a scout team, or he wasn't even in the huddle.
It definitely seemed like Matt Nagy was pretty involved in the whatever was going on offensively.
Someone sent me a video of it. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, Nagy's going to be the OC there if Bieniemy leaves.
Look at this. Like, he's right there. He's not even in the huddle. Look at him, like, trying to. What are we doing?
Also, just to show you how annoying this past season of Texans football was, you watch this game and, like, you see Andy on the headset. He's pushing the button. He's got the Denny's menu over his mouth and all that kind of stuff. Bieniemy called the plays for the Chiefs-Texans games.
I know. They treated it like a preseason.
Yeah, like Andy was just chilling. He had his menu, like, on his belly the whole time.
They treated it like a preseason, man.
I don't think I saw him hit the damn microphone thing once and Bieniemy was calling the plays.
Probably why it was so close.
By the way, at the risk of stating something incredibly obvious and getting annihilated by Cody, when you really watch these playoffs, and I know people have talked about this, but it really sinks in that like it makes all the sense in the world to draft a quarterback at number 2, because when you go to the AFC playoffs, like you're inevitably, just because there's so many now, it's not just Mahomes and Burrow, but now it's Lawrence and Josh Allen. Like you're inevitably going to run Herbert into an elite quarterback, and the best chance to land that elite quarterback is picking as high as possible in the draft. Like I know San Francisco did it in a very unique way, and they fell apart because they lost, both of their quarterbacks.
They also traded a crap ton of picks to get up there and try to get Lance.
I mean, and this with the AFC playoffs, like you're gonna have I don't know what kind of powerhouse team you're going to have to put together to beat these level of quarterbacks, because now there are so many great ones in the AFC. You're inevitably going to run into 2 of them in the postseason, no matter what.
By the way, that may not be for the long-term conversation of the Texans, because these guys probably aren't playing that long, but the AFC is probably going to add Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady too.
Very possible. Sure.
Like
Very
Tennessee might upgrade. A-Rod might go to New York. Brady might end up in Vegas. Like the next couple of years, like you got to go into Sundays with a chance to compete at the QB spot.
What was that lock-in for? The Jets can't do better than Carr. What did that mean?
Lock-in for he throws out a lot of nonsense.
Eric asks, "What do you think of Kellen Moore for OC?" I think he's going to the Chargers. That's what I think. Cody, who we getting at OC? Brandon asks.
So here's my question about the Kellen Moore thing. Is there any chance Kellen Moore would avoid the Chargers because Staley's getting fired if they have a bad season, and then he also gets fired?
I don't know. Is there any chance DeMeco wants Kellen Moore?
I mean, he's competed against him for a couple of playoff games.
But I also think if you're awesome with Justin Herbert and you turn him around and he's the MVP, you're going to get a job immediately.
Sure.
Yeah, like how are they going to perform poorly on offense if Herbert is healthy? I know he had surgery, which probably is a good thing. Like I think that if I was a Charger fan, I feel like this is actually, if they weren't going to fire Staley, this is about the best case scenario.
Did y'all see the interesting time Justin Herbert had on social media over the weekend?
No,
I did not.
So, oh man, I'm getting deep into the dirt and the gossip here. Are you guys familiar with a person named Jeffree Star?
Nope,
I am not.
Jeffree Star is a famous YouTuber and makeup artist, and trying to get.
Was he on Surreal Life? Was he on Surreal Life?
I don't know exactly what Star's like come up has been, but like a very sexually charged character and homosexual, and went on a vacation with an NFL player, and people were trying to say that it was Justin Herbert based on the freckles and veins on his hand. Social media had a field day with that rumor over the weekend.
Okay, well, I
don't know what to make. I'm gonna need to let that sink in.
I don't know.
Okay,
all right. I don't know. So
it's a fair thing to put on the table, I suppose.
What does that mean?
I need to think about that.
What's wrong with that? If Justin wants to go on a little hoorah with Jeffree Star, have at it.
Interesting.
Trey Lance for 2 second-round picks.
Pass.
Lauro says.
I have a thought on that.
What are we doing?
Nobody wants Trey Lance. Stop.
I have a thought on that. Aren't the 49ers, especially after today, like they're going to bring back Purdy and Trey Lance, and they're probably going to start Trey.
They got Trey Lance for 2 more years on a rookie deal. They gave up all that for him. They're just going to give up on him. And if they're willing to do that, that tells you all you need to know about him. Furthermore, even if they were, what did you see from Trey Lance? And what have you seen from Trey Lance that makes you think that's even worth it?
I liked Lance as a prospect a lot. I like guys.
Did you like him when you saw him?
No, but I think there's more there. But to your point, Landry, my issue is that if I like Trey Lance the way I do, it must mean something if they who know him the best are willing to give him up for a price that I'd feel is reasonable. If.
How about the fact that I don't know, the guy's hurt all the time.
Sure, it's an issue.
we talk about durability and the concerns people might have with durability for Bryce Young, but Trey Lance is always hurt.
I'll point out that Joel Embiid was hurt his first 2 NBA seasons.
Oh
Yeah, well, this is football, Michael.
And Joel Embiid was also
It should be easier to stay healthy in
but there were no
basketball.
questions about Joel Embiid's talent. There's
That's
question
fair.
about Trey Lance's talent.
Yeah, there are some questions. He has a lot of tools. Like, we know what kind of prospect he is, but can he put it together? We don't know.
Monkey Chalupa says that Will McClay should be the GM.
They got a GM. What are we GM shopping for?
They got a GM. I don't think Jerry's going to let Will McClay go.
But if they can
Landry
get Will
knows all about
McClay,
that.
well, his kid's about to graduate high school, so
that's a big deal.
I think he would be more open to it now. And he's divorced, so his wife wouldn't move with him, so he wouldn't be able to see his kid. Just so you know, I think he would want to run his own organization eventually.
Interesting.
So there is that.
So Ferris Jabbar wants.
Oh, why didn't we mention Ben Albright on this whole thing?
Oh, Ben Allwrong.
How did Ben Albright not come up?
I've been defending him in our group chats.
Ben's all wrong.
Well, the problem with Ben Albright is he words it in a way to where he's gonna say that he never said he wasn't wrong, but if it happens, then he's gonna do a victory lap and he's gonna that's the problem. It's not that he's not 100% right, because a lot of good, like Mike Kliss was saying the same stuff about DeMeco for the most part, but Albright just has this chip on his shoulder that he wants to always be right. And then
he should talk with McClain and get the advice that stop reading your mentions and only engage once in a while. Not that I'm the best person.
Mentions now. I think McClain reads the mentions now.
I mean, I think he should just get more reliable sources that he can go to print with.
Well, it sounds like from all the Denver people that DeMeco was leaning Denver last Wednesday, Thursday, and then somehow that changed.
I think Denver was leaning DeMeco, and they just assumed that no matter what, they would be able to get him.
We may never know. We may never know.
Mike, let's talk about the type of guy Ben Albright is. He tweeted back in the day, man, it's crazy that Titus Howard and Max Sharping, 2 top picks for the Texans, aren't taking any snaps with the first team in training camp. And then he gets corrected and blocks all the people that corrects him and then deletes his tweets.
That's a bad job. By the way, the Max Sharping Chris Jones matchup was fun today.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
That was rough. The other thing that I think was interesting about this whole thing, assuming that DeMeco's the guy, and we are obviously assuming that, I was probably guilty of it too, because I figured that if Gannon got interviewed a second time, that Jonathan Gannon would be the guy. But it does kind of seem like there was a lot of assuming that Nick Caserio just, before the process even started, before he even talked to DeMeco Ryans, that Nick Caserio wanted to talk to Jonathan Gannon, and that was going to be his guy no matter what. And whoever Jonathan Gannon's agent is, congratulations to him, because he's got a lot of people carrying his water. Because I don't it seems like there's all this hype about him. And I'll just say, I feel like Aaron was hyping him up a lot. A-Dub, shout out to A-Dub doing his thing, but he was hyping him up a lot to where even after the game, Aaron said highly thought of defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon with a good effort. And I was just like, okay, how many other teams wanted to talk to him
this
this
time?
time?
Played quarterback.
But how many? Yeah.
What are you talking about? Christian McCaffrey played quarterback.
Well, the other thing is how only one other team wanted to interview him in this whole process, and it was Arizona. So
that doesn't. Yeah. Here's what I think.
I'll put it this way. My point is, I don't think if DeMeco hadn't gotten the job, I don't think that Jonathan Gannon would have been the choice.
Okay, I think that's fair. Well, I think
I think it was going to be Kafka. I think it was going to be Kafka. And Lopez has kind of hinted it too. I think Kafka, I said from the beginning that I could see Kafka winning Caserio over. He comes from the Dable tree, real nerdy guy, smart. Kansas City didn't want to lose him. Kansas City wanted Bieniemy to get another job. They wanted to elevate Kafka, period. That was a lot of the push, and that's what they wanted. And now Bieniemy's going to go. I don't think they're going to be overly upset by it. But Kafka, I think, would have been the guy had DeMeco chosen Denver. That would have been my prediction.
That makes sense. I think a lot of the Gannon stuff stemmed from the idea that Nick Caserio preferred him last year before everything went down.
Did
with
he,
McCown.
though? Do we know that?
What? We don't know that for a fact. I think that's kind of reading between the lines on it. I had my friend, because I trust my friend Zach Berman, who covers the Eagles and has for a long time, because I've known Zach for like 20 years. And I asked him on my yeah, he does a good job. And I asked him about Gannon a week and a half ago on Mad Dog, and he was basically like, from the people he talks to, the idea with Gannon is that you're not hiring a specific scheme, you're hiring a person. He has leadership attributes, which are why people have kind of targeted him as a future head coach. So whenever I've talked to Zach about Gannon, he's been pretty complimentary. I know some Eagle fans are down on him. I think it would have been a reasonable hire compared to what
Eagle fans are down on everybody.
Gannon was in this process in case the perception that was false about the Texans was real, because he would take this job. He was in this process because he was an achievable candidate that you could have hired. Gannon was here in case Sean Payton told you to hit the road, and DeMeco told you to hit the road, and Steichen told you to hit the road, and Kafka didn't impress. That's why Gannon was in this process. And he started as the favorite because they had familiarity with him from last year. And then it came in here, and you had multiple guys blow away his interviews and his conversations with the team. Gannon was here because he was a safe option, not because he was an exciting option.
Yeah, the wording was by A-Dub. Shout out to A-Dub at Aaron Wilson _NFL. Outstanding performance by Eagles defense and a highly regarded defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon. Bro, of all the, say that after the Giants or something like that. Like this was sad. Brock Purdy didn't play. Josh Johnson it was highly regarded. Yeah, I
know Landry and Cody are going to tell me that game should be put in the Hall of Fame.
No,
but that was a rough watch in the second half.
You're just too dependent on.
Hey, what was a good football? What's a real football game? The AFC Championship game. That right there.
We should have got more of it.
Christopher Matt Douglas. That was a football game. Was a football game.
We should have got overtime. Damn it!
I know. That was a hell of a game. That's what I want.
Mike's acting like the fourth string quarterback gets hurt and the running back has to play quarterback every week in the NFL. It's silly.
I'm just saying.
I saw someone be like, man, that was a really bad NFC Championship game. And I was like, yeah, how many times does the fourth string quarterback have to play in the game?
I feel bad because I almost want to do over on that game because I have literally no dog in the fight. I just wanted to see at relatively full strength how the Eagles and 49ers would have matched up. I just wanted to see that as a football fan.
Also, got to have a quarterback because Shanahan's one of the best offensive minds. He's the best offensive mind in the NFC, and all that talent on offense, and they couldn't do jack because the QB can't throw the ball. Okay, so you got to have a good quarterback, folks.
Yeah.
There are some people questioning whether Brock Purdy is tough enough.
I saw people comparing him to.
You can't throw the ball. You can't throw the ball.
I saw people comparing him to Jay Cutler when Cutler was banged up in the NFC Championship a few years ago.
Oh yeah, Cutler.
Yeah,
Cutler
that's one of those
out.
like. If he can't throw I was kind of curious when McCaffrey threw the ball down the field to nobody, but he did actually throw the ball like 40 yards. That kind of made me think like, why didn't they in the second half after Johnson got hurt just line him up and just kind of like I'm serious. If you got one-on-one matchups on the outside, just heave the ball up. I'm not saying it would have like worked, but I'm saying it would have given you a better chance. Am I wrong?
Yes.
I like how Mike's
surprised. How
surprised.
did Josh Johnson find his way in all these situations, by the way?
I like how
I
like how Mike's surprised that Christian McCaffrey is like an amazing football player.
Is Josh Johnson just
he could really throw the ball?
Is Josh Johnson just like the smartest human being in the world that they just think he can pick up an offense in a matter of like 2 weeks? Like there's got to be something about him to where he's on all these teams.
Is he going to be a coach?
Josh Johnson? He must be like a great guy. He must be
he's got to be smart
dude to hang out with.
I bet you he has like a photographic memory where he can just flip a book and like remember like every page of it for some reason because he's always the first phone call people make.
Josh Johnson was Jim Harbaugh's quarterback at the University of San Diego before Stanford, before San Francisco and before Michigan. That's how long we're talking about.
You know what I thought of during the NFC Championship game? I really want the 12th overall pick to be Black CMC, aka Bijan.
Yeah.
Does that seem
Yeah.
Does that seem like a stretch for this roster?
No.
No.
If you can get Christian McCaffrey and Dameon Pierce. I don't think Bijan's going to be there at 12, but if he's there, man, in that offense with the San Francisco offense, a guy who's probably faster than McCaffrey, and can do the same type of stuff. If you give him a chance in the slot, it's kind of scary to imagine. And Dameon Pierce, I keep hearing, well, you have Dameon Pierce, you have Dameon Pierce. Here's the problem with Dameon Pierce. And I always mention like the James Robinson was 5th in the league in rushing and at 1,000 yards after his rookie year, and they drafted Etienne with the extra pick. The Jags made the right move doing that. The problem with Pierce is James Robinson kind of fell off, but he had at least proven that he could be a workhorse back. I think he did it his junior and senior years. Dameon Pierce, his entire time at Florida, I think he had 327 carries, no more than 330. It was like 327 or 329 in 4 years. He had 220 this year, and he broke down. And that's not a knock on him. That's just not what he does.
I think
he could have kept playing, though.
I think broke down's
he could have kept playing, but he was hurt.
I think that's a little harsh. He got hurt late in the season.
Well, hold on now. We can't be touting.
Well, yeah, when he had to work. Dude, I'm just saying that
he was healthy for 13 games, right? Is that right? Something like that?
He was incredible, and he would have played had they not been there. I'm just saying he got worn out. Like they were running him to death.
All the more reason to put him in a tandem.
I think he needs a tandem. I think he needs a tandem is all I'm saying.
I think everyone agrees with that. Yes, he needs to be a tandem. I agree with that. I think there's a difference between getting worn down and suffering an acute injury.
He got hurt.
Yeah, he got injured. He got injured.
Yes, and he wanted to play. Like I'm not questioning anything like that. I'm just saying that when a guy has had 320 carries in 4 years, and then all of a sudden you give him 220, and he either gets hurt or what, he can't play. At least he would have been out at least a couple of games because he was hurt. Then
I think he's
not a give him the ball 20 times. He's awesome. Like he's like a Marion Barber. He's a D'Angelo Williams. He's like in different styles, like Jonathan Stewart. Like he's one of those guys that you split with and it'll be more effective.
I think that's how come Philly has such good backup running backs?
Yeah, Gainwell,
Boston Scott.
Gainwell was a quarterback and wanted to be a
God, Howie Roseman is a magician, man.
Dude, we got to talk about that. By the way, it is the Locker Room, #1 source for Texans digital content. Subscribe and like. Bring up the likes. Get that algae going. Subscribe to Stutz's thing, but most importantly, subscribe to this one. But Cody Stutz has got his thing going too. Howie Roseman has been there from the very beginning. Howie Roseman hired Nick Sirianni. They fired Doug Peterson after winning a Super Bowl, which was tough. I'm sure that was tough. You probably could have brought him back. They hire Howie Roseman. They hire Nick Sirianni, and now they're right back at the Super Bowl after winning the Super Bowl a few years ago. And they have a core that's unbelievable. And, oh, by the way, they have the 10th pick and the 32nd pick right now.
They're going to have some cap. Yeah, they'll have some cap issues, but like with those picks, it almost like assuming they draft well. Yeah, it almost cancels it out. Yeah,
they might take Bijan because they don't want to pay Sanders because they're going to have to pay Hurts. They're going to have to pay Hurts like 40, 45, 50 million. And you put Bijan Robinson, like if he falls to 10 and they don't want to pay Sanders, because I'm not a big fan of giving running backs like second contracts. And I think Sanders is a really good player. You put Bijan Robinson there instead of Sanders, and then you still use your it's now the 31st overall pick because Miami has to forfeit. You're in a good spot. And the other thing is like Nick Caserio, like we talk about some of the trades that Nick Caserio has made. And I know like we talk about Nico Collins and Kenyon Green. Howie Roseman, like any way you want to look at it, any way you want to look at the trade, like he's done it the right way. They traded up to get Devontae Smith. They hurdled the Giants to trade up and get Devontae Smith because the Giants were going to take him, and the Cowboys basically said, we'll trade with the Eagles because we'll let the Eagles have it. And then they went up and got him. They traded a first-rounder for A.J. Brown. Then they traded the Saints and got their pick in the Chris Olave trade. They've made all kinds of other trades. Like everything that you can do as an organization, he's done. If Nick Caserio is Howie Roseman and he puts that together, it's a wrap.
How about two of their guys in the secondary that are ass kickers being trades? Darius Slay and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
And they picked up Bradbury as well from the Giants. I mean, what the job that Howie Roseman has done the last 2 years should be studied.
Bringing up TJ's bringing up he did draft Rager over Justin Jefferson. True.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that's
you know what he did to fix it? He went and got A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown had the best season of his life.
Yes.
Yeah, like that's a big thing. I was getting ready to bring this up. Howie Roseman's ability to recover from his mistakes is incredible. They spent a first-round pick on Andre Dillard. And Texans fans, I know you remember Andre Dillard's name because most of us wanted Andre Dillard to get drafted instead of Titus Howard. They spent a first-round pick on Andre Dillard. He sucked in the NFL, and they found some guy in the 7th round who turned out to be a stud at left tackle.
I would be really curious if, we had beers with Nick Caserio, which is very unlikely for a number of reasons. I'm curious, seriously, what Nick thinks of how Howie has built it in Philadelphia, because it just strikes me as, so different stylistically from the way that Nick Caserio operates. I'd just be kind of curious, what he thinks of what Howie's done.
I don't know. The thing about Howie Roseman, and Sean saying that Aaron said, he's talking about candidates, and Aaron's pretty connected on the the coaching staffs and stuff like that. So check out Aaron Wilson _NFL to check that out. But I don't even know what his style is. People try to talk. I don't know what the philosophy is in Philadelphia. I think they're just open to whatever. I don't think he bogs himself down with the mindset.
But there's an urgency to what they do, right?
I don't know how
there's an urgency to what they do.
They'll make tough decisions, and they won't worry about it.
So the thing about Philadelphia, though, too, that you have to think about is a lot of this has been built up over the course of, something close to damn near 10 years. When you think about how some of these key guys got into this organization, Jason Kelsey's been there forever. Lane Johnson's been there forever. Fletcher Cox has been there forever. Brandon Graham's been there forever. Some of their key players have been there a really, really long time. And they've been there through some of the lean years too. The Texans are going to have to find some of those guys in the next coming years to be the guys that are here for a decade or something like that. The Eagles have some really key players that have been around for almost 10 years and sometimes more. So by the way, as far as the Caserio thing goes, I don't think we have any idea how Caserio operates because he had 2 weird ass off seasons. He could do anything because the Deshaun Watson trade.
We're learning about it.
Now we're going to start to learn.
Oh, we're going to learn. We're going to learn when he goes to the table with Laramie. That's going to be fun for Laramie and Nick because ain't no preacher and Bill O'Brien sitting across the table this time, Laramie. That's a real general manager you got to talk to. Okay? It's a real GM.
Laramie said he's got to be ready. That's what he said when he hopped on the show. He said he got to be ready. Nick got to be ready. Got to get it going. Talked about leverage and stuff. Hey, hush.
Good.
Dog's acting a fool, man.
I saw somebody ask this in your comments, Landry. Are there any upcoming free agents from the 49ers that DeMeco's going to bring over?
I don't know.
Everybody, I feel like every coach has a teacher's pet that they brought along. Cully got
Bill
to bring
Parcells along. Had
that could be a little dangerous.
David Cully had Chris Conley and Chris Moore. Lovey got to keep Christian Kirksey.
Rex Burkhead.
Names.
Who was Rex Burkhead? Was that Caserio and Easterby?
I can't wait till DeMeco sits down and analyzes Christian Kirksey film.
I heard that Jack. Someone told me this. I don't remember who it was. I heard that Jack wanted so last year at the draft party, which is a good time. If you're out there, come through. So they had all the second year guys go to the draft, all the Texans players, and they were mingling with fans. So you had Davis Mills, Nico, Brevin Jordan, Lopez, Wallow, all those guys. I heard that Jack wanted Reeves Maben and Rex Burkhead to be the guys instead of the second year guys. And it was who the hell would want that?
Did you want Derek Rivers to go out there too because he officiated his wedding?
No, yes, he was. Yeah, yes. He wanted like the
Kamu?
Rex Burke. Like people were just Texans fans would have
my
just been like,
God.
yeah, I really want to talk to Rex Burkhead instead of Davis Mills.
I'm looking at the 49er free agents. Garoppolo, Jimmy Ward, Ebukam, the former Rams player.
You
Kerry
shut your
Hyder
mouth on that first one. You shut your mouth on that first one.
Kerry
Although
Hyder.
There's no way DeMeco Ryan. I will tell you this. I would love to be a fly on the wall of the conversation where let's just pretend, because I don't think it's true, but like let's pretend that Nick Caserio loves Jimmy Garoppolo. I would love to hear that conversation between Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans about Jimmy Garoppolo.
I don't know exactly what the situation was. It infuriated me to see Jimmy Garoppolo laughing on the sidelines today. In the middle of that team getting their head kicked in because the quarterbacks were hurt, and he's one of the softest quarterbacks in the NFL, and he's laughing on the sidelines.
Oh, wow.
Oh, talk to San Francisco people about him. You know who hates Jimmy Garoppolo? George Kittle. Hates Jimmy Garoppolo.
Doesn't what's his name hate Garoppolo? Was it Michael Bennett, Martellus Bennett? Didn't one of those guys crush Garoppolo?
Yeah, it was Martellus.
Yeah,
it was Martellus. He said he
didn't
refused to
wanna
play,
play.
and they had to put Jacoby in.
And
Really called him
Jacoby
out.
had like a broken hand. Oh, and they crushed the Texans 27-0 on a Monday night, I think.
But if
Thursday night.
Caserio likes
Thursday
him,
night.
there's no way that DeMeco does. Cost him Super Bowl, man.
I will be
He
curious
was on
how
that staff,
urgent.
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'll be curious how aggressive they are in free agency because they need to be more aggressive at adding talent here.
They will.
They need to be.
I'll be super interested to see what front seven guys they bring in free agency.
I do think the tax is still going to be there, but I don't think the tax is going to be as much with DeMeco Ryans. I do think players are going to want to play for him.
Who signed, like, who gets deals in free agency? Like, I understand like everything in free agency is expensive. Everything's expensive. Like nobody gets you don't get.
There's
you
a
don't
little
get
bit more of a
discounts.
tax. There is a Jags tax.
You don't get discounts.
But some players, the other thing, but the difference is outside the tax is like, I think DeMeco will be a guy where if like all things are equal, like, and the money's equal, that maybe people would want to go play for him, where I don't think that would have been the case like the last couple of years with guys. I do think players will want to play for him.
Yeah, I think to a larger extent, yes, for sure.
So I do think you at least have that with DeMeco Ryans. As far as the staff, I don't know. I mean, you got to think that's going to be one of the first questions he gets asked. I think the press conference will be Thursday or Friday. I think the announcement will be Tuesday or Wednesday. I could see him wanting to do exit interviews tomorrow, although I don't know. And then the second interview Tuesday, announcement maybe Wednesday, Friday interview. I mean, Jonathan Gannon's already out, so they're not going to waste their time with Steichen and these other cats. Like, he's not even flirting with Denver anymore, DeMeco.
Yeah, so I mean, he finishes his work in San Fran on Monday, fly him in on Tuesday, announce it Wednesday, press conference Thursday, media tour Friday.
Yep.
Bing, bang,
All
boom.
those former Texans.
Big first week.
What a week.
First week.
That Arian showing up idea would be fun.
No, he'll be there.
That'd be a whole
He
new.
showed up at a game this year in a suite.
I would take it to
I
a
didn't
little.
know that. Okay.
I would take it to another level of. I'd take it to another level of hope if all of a sudden Arian Foster cares about this organization again.
Well, I mean, he's not going to coach or anything.
I'm not talking about him coaching.
He was with.
You've just been caring.
This guy didn't give a shit about football for 3 years, 5 years.
He
Like,
was
didn't
with
care.
PFT. He was with PFT. They were doing their podcast, and he was talking about like coaching. He's like, I just don't think we should practice as much. That's my thing. And then it's like, I'm not a coach. Like,
Well,
Arian
that-
I don't
Foster
think
is
being
not
a coach is up his alley at all.
He can't coach running backs for the Texans because Danny Barrett's apparently got a lifetime contract.
What do you mean he's got a lifetime contract?
He survived 3 coaches.
Yeah, but we don't know if he's going to be back on this
Landry,
one
the
or not.
running back position had been the worst on the team until Damian Pierce showed up.
Yeah, was that his fault?
I don't know if that was his fault.
Was that his fault?
Well, he didn't make anything better.
Well, I thought he did a good job with Damian Pierce.
Yeah, he did.
People keep asking if Pep Hamilton's gone. I would think so.
Yeah.
I would think so. Where's
You know what
Pep going to go?
I'd
He
let him
turned
run
down
the
Carolina. Might just chill. He's going to get paid. His son's what, a junior now?
If there's somebody that should hire Pep Hamilton.
Who, the Jets?
Nope.
The XFL team.
Nope. Dana should hire him at UH to run the offense.
Not your worst idea. Not your worst idea.
What?
That's fair.
Okay. Good idea, dude.
Fair.
Who does Indy hire? Who does Indy hire?
Saturday.
I'm going to say they hire Evero or somebody. I'll say they go in the non-Saturday category.
I think they go Raheem Morris.
Okay, interesting.
Man, if they hire Raheem Morris, Evero's going to go back to the Rams.
Yeah, I think
That's
they're going to
good.
hire
Yeah,
Raheem.
he could. Yeah.
Man, are the Rams going to be good next year?
So are the Eagles going to keep both coordinators off of this team?
Probably. Unless Denver revisits
Gannon or Steichen.
something. Yeah, but I don't know. I think Denver seems like they want Jim Harbaugh.
That's
Yeah,
what it sounds
what's
like.
with these secret meetings? I'm staying the coach at Michigan, but I'll still listen to Denver.
Yeah, he's a slime ball.
What a disaster Michigan
that job
football
sucks.
is.
How about that? Denver and Indianapolis, like less
I think
regarded
the
than the
Denver job-
Texans right now.
I think the Denver job is better than people think.
Why? You
all
think Russ can be saved?
All 4 jobs have been less desirable than the Texans.
I'll tell you why. Because if I was interviewing for the Broncos head coaching job, I would dictate to ownership. I would say, all right, here's how this is going to play out. There are going to be one of 2 avenues here. Because of the cap, and we can't change that, I'm going to get a year to fix Russ, who, it should be noted, actually did play better in the last 2 games of the season. That's number 1. Avenue 2 is I am drafting a quarterback in 2024 and rebuilding this whole thing. That's why I think it's a better job than people think. People think that like Russ is going to be the
2024,
quarterback.
do they even have that pick?
Yes, they do. Yes. People have this idea that if Russ keeps playing like this, he's going to be the quarterback for the next 5 years. That's not true. Like, if Russ sucks again, like he did this past season, they will cut him after next season. Mark that down. If he's that bad, and I suspect he won't be, but if he was, he will not be their quarterback in 2024. That will not happen. They will bring in somebody else. They will draft a young quarterback if that happens. That, to me, is the appeal of the Denver job, because I think if you kind of zoom out, I think that's been one of the better organizations for the last 30 years. They have a lot of money. They have good fan base. I like Denver as a city.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
Okay. So you think Russ could get cut next year, huh?
Mike is way higher on the Denver situation than I am. Peyton Manning bailed their ass out for a couple of years.
But they had a ready-made team like
fantastic.
Tampa did with Brady. They had a ready-made team. They had a lot of talent at the.
But Peyton chose them.
They had a good defense this
Peyton
past
chose
season.
them because it was a good organization.
Peyton chose them because Gary kept Matt.
Also true.
What? Peyton wanted the Texans. Kubiak wanted to keep Schaub.
That's true. Cody is correct on that.
Also, Mike acting like an $85 million dead cap is just nothing. Is great. I love that.
No. Again, you got to pay attention to what I'm saying, Cody. They're not cutting Russ this year. They'd be cutting him after next season. There have been detailed breakdowns written by Joe Torre over the cap. That's not the out. I have read detailed analyses of the Wilson deal. They can cut him after next season with the way this contract is set up and do it such that it's not going to be nearly as punitive. He will not be the quarterback in 2024 if he sucks like at this level. Mark my words.
You should call DeMeco and try to get him to go to Denver.
I'm just saying.
And their dead cap currently for cutting him in 2024 be $85 million.
That's if they do it. No, I'm going to send you. If they do it first.
I'm not going to read it. Don't send it to me.
If they do it post June 1st, it totally changes the numbers, and they can spread it out over the extra couple of years.
Yes, it'll be $85 million over 2 years instead of 1 year.
It'll actually be 85 over 3 years, not 2. But yes, but they're not going to add to their cap next season. Is my point.
Too long didn't read, Mike.
I've studied this for 2 months.
Too long didn't read.
I've studied it for 2 months.
85 mil. It's a lot of dead
It's
cap,
not
sir.
going to actually be 85 mil.
Who do you think?
I like how Mike just acted like somebody is going to walk in there and tell the Walmart people how to run things.
But because at this point they don't have the leverage when they're hiring these coaches, because these coaches know the same thing that we all know, which is Russ is an albatross right now.
You just did a good job. We're talking about the jobs. You just did a good job of selling me this Denver pen. Okay? Good job. You sold me this pen. It's like a business interview. Sell me this pen. Sell me this Indianapolis Colts pen now. Sell me this Colts pen.
Okay, I'll try. I'll put on my lawyer cap. I'll try to defend Indianapolis. Everything that could have gone wrong for Indianapolis did go wrong this past season. If they get relative health, they have some solid pieces. Like if they get healthy performances from Michael Pittman, they get Taylor back, they get Shaquille Leonard back, and Nelson has a much better season. Kenny Moore comes back and is healthy. They do have the pieces for a decent football team moving forward. They just can't have everybody be hurt and ineffective next season. That's how, and they have the number 4 pick. They have their draft capital moving forward as well.
Okay.
That's how I would look at Indianapolis if I'm trying to sell the situation.
Who's the quarterback?
I think they'll draft somebody.
Sticking and picking or trading and making it happen?
Are they going to trade up?
I'm not sure.
I mean, what do you think?
You did such a great job with Denver and then the Indianapolis thing.
Yeah, I think Indy was a tougher sell.
A little bit.
Also, I guess Matt Ryan's contract is just fake too, so maybe they can just get rid of him too. It's like,
yeah, they'll get rid of him.
The dead cap doesn't matter.
Yeah, my big thing is that I think Michael Pittman's really good. I think Pierce is a nice player. Quentin Nelson was bad this season. I think that's going to change.
Their line sucks.
Yeah, but if this Raymond guy is actually decent at left tackle, which is a big question, that's the guy they invested in the 3rd round. That kind of changes things.
Turns out spending $80 million on a guard makes your team pretty shitty.
You've been on that. I mean, here's my bottom line sell. If Jonathan Taylor's healthy and Shaquille Leonard is healthy, that team is going to be around 500.
Okay, thanks.
That's my sell.
What about when the owner goes nuts?
Well, that's the problem. I also like that tight end they drafted, Jelani Woods. He's pretty good. Just throwing it out there. Kwity Paye, I thought, had a pretty promising second season as well.
All right, sell me Arizona now. This is a fun exercise.
Yeah, sell me this Arizona pen.
Okay. This might actually be the toughest one.
Really?
Well, okay, here's how I would sell it. It sounds like Kyler Murray is going to miss at least half of the season. Maybe you will be bad enough to where you're going to have a lot of options after 2023, and you can either draft a quarterback, maybe Kyler comes back and looks decent, you can trade him or keep him. This thing, depending on his recovery, could look substantially better in December than it does right now.
Well, what if he becomes a film guru when he's hurt?
Maybe
he becomes a film guru.
What if this is what you needed? Like he might just play more video games. You never know.
Did Mike yet again advocate for moving on from a quarterback that has a dead cap hit of $80 million?
It's crazy. Like Mike doesn't even take this into account. So you can move on from Kyler too. Like these quarterback contracts are just fake as hell, right?
I'm going to send you guys the link of the Wilson deal. I've broken this thing.
I'm not reading it.
I'm not reading your nerdy cap stuff.
I have not.
I'm not reading your nerdy cap stuff.
You're
the only person. You're the only person I've heard that said that Russell Wilson is a 1-year commitment.
I'm telling you that
the only person I've heard say that.
Yes,
I'm glad DeMeco didn't get your Bible of like Russell Wilson thing that nobody else in the world has.
It's a 1-year commitment. If he is that bad next season,
but $85 million in dead cap does not go away.
But you're misstating it because it's not going to go all on their cap next season. They'll spread it into the following two seasons.
It's still $85 million.
It doesn't matter. It's still a credit card that's still going to be there.
Here's my point. They are not going to keep him after next season solely because of cap reasons. Let me reiterate that. They will not keep Russ after next season if he is bad because of his contract.
Okay, and they'll be strapped still.
I agree. Yes.
I need to see your credit score, Michael. I need to see your credit score.
How are you saying this right now?
I've been saying it for 2 months. I'm not
Guys,
just coming up with
if
it
you
now.
owe
You're saying
85 million.
You're saying this on national radio?
I'm saying this on national radio. Joe Corey wrote about this. Over the Cap wrote about this 2 months ago.
This is like an Always Sunny in
All right, here you go.
Philadelphia.
Yes.
This is like an Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode.
I'm going to start sharing my screen.
All right, here you go.
If we owe 85 million over 3 years, we don't know 85 million over 1 year.
107 mil dead cap next year, 85 mil in 2024, 49 mil. Potential out 2026, 4-year, $161 million deal. His contract hasn't even started yet.
That is not correct. Hold on.
What do you mean? His new contract starts next year.
Hold on. Can you guys see this? Well, I think you might have to enable it. I'm gonna show this to you.
I don't even want to see it.
God, you guys are the worst. I've got it all ready to go.
There you go. Go ahead. Show me this.
Okay, so right now
make it bigger. Go ahead.
Make
there,
it bigger.
salesman.
All right, hold on. All right, here we go. All right, so we see these numbers on the right.
That's not the first time someone said make it bigger to Mike.
So cap number next season, 22 million, and this looks like so they can't cut him this season. This 107, they cannot cut him. Okay. But 2024, we see the cap number 35.4 million. You look at that money, it's like 85. They can't cut him. But there are other options. Look, if we just do this down arrow right here, what if they cut him post June 1st? Oh, now it's a net even if they cut him, and when the cap, by the way, is going to go way up in the next couple of years after that. So that 84.4, 18.4 is actually going to be less money relative to what the salary cap is. Or you could, let's see, if a trade's not going to help you pre-June 1st, but if you designate it, you could do it this way as well. But here's what they're going to do. It would be a post-June
cap advisor.
This is what they would do. The post-June 1st cut, look at these numbers. It would be even in the salary cap right here, and you use the excess cap space as the cap goes up the next couple of years to absorb these numbers right here while you draft a young quarterback on a rookie deal. Listen, I'm not saying it's a good situation. I'm saying they have an out after next season. That's all I'm saying. They have an out. They're not keeping him forever if he sucks.
Mike is using the best financial advantage in all of sports, a rookie deal. He's going to use it to absorb Russell Wilson's money.
You know what?
Yes,
that's the perfect.
Yes,
you know what?
That's exactly
Honestly,
what I'm doing.
This is the perfect way to end this one. By the way, subscribe, do all that. In the loop tomorrow, 10 to 2, Sports Radio 610. Going to be a fun one. We'll be at the press conference when and if this happens. I had forgotten about the BOB Easterby era, but you just gave me kind of a snippet of what it was probably like. So it's probably good to at least relive the past as we're looking ahead to the future with that weak ass layout that you've had.
That was a great layout.
You basically just said, if you go get another credit card, you don't have to pay it. And then look, you get a fresh credit card right here with a full balance on it, but you still have this one to the side. You basically just said, let's open a new credit card and then get like a 1 year.
You know who did this? You know who did this? The NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles. They did this. They absorbed all that money with Wentz last year, and they started. They did this exact thing. They did this.
That was not the same.
They did this exact thing.
That was not close to the same.
How is it not the same? They took on a ton of dead money with Wentz.
It was not. It was not that type of money.
It was like $40 million. I have to find it, but it was a huge number they absorbed last year. It was a big number. and they still made the playoffs.
Wentz got a 4-year, $128 million contract extension with $107 million guaranteed. Let's go look at Russ. Russell Wilson signed a 5-year, $242 million contract with $161 million guaranteed. Michael, he makes more money in guaranteed money than Wentz made the entire contract. Mike!
As the salary cap goes up a lot. Mason McIntyre knows what I'm talking about. The Eagles last season, this is a fact, they took on the most dead money of any player in NFL history last season. That's a fact. That's a fact. He had the highest cap number on their football team last year, and he didn't play for it. He was playing on Indianapolis, and they still made the playoffs.
Oh,
It is the same. How is it not the? I'm not saying the numbers are equal. Obviously, I'm not saying that. The principle is the same. It's the same principle. They got out of a bad situation.
Never change. Never change, Mike.
All right, so let's put a bow on it. Give your final thoughts on DeMeco Ryans' potential hire. We'll start with old Melty Melts. Sell me this pen, Melts. Sell the people on this DeMeco Ryans hire.
If they get this done and they get pen to paper, then I think the last 3 weeks have gone about as well as any Texans fan could have possibly hoped for. They fired Lovey aggressively early. They didn't dilly-dally around. They didn't wait around for the next 4 or 5 days like they did with Cully last season. And there was one candidate, and I think they had a number of options, but they've had so far a good process, interviewing the right people, strong candidates, good resume, but there's one that stood out based on his ties to this city, this football team, and I just think it's a home run. It makes all the sense in the world. You've got the number 2 pick, you've got cap space, and this is, if and when they hire DeMeco Ryans, knock on wood, to me it marks the return of the Houston Texans functionally as a normal NFL team.
Stoots?
They shopped at the top. They're going to get one of the top candidates, maybe the top candidate in this coaching cycle, especially if Sean Payton doesn't end up with somebody, and it looks like he's seemingly not going to end up with somebody. That was the thing. Add legitimacy to your organization with how you operate heading into this offseason. And they have done that it's been small steps and it's been big steps. Small steps, firing Lovey on a Sunday instead of a Monday. I like that. That's a small thing. The candidate group, it was one of the best interview candidate groups of any of the teams hiring candidates in this cycle. Nobody told them no. Every other team had somebody basically tell them no. Nobody told them no. And they hired the guy that they have identified that they want. And none of the self-inflicted wounds from the past few years led to them being unable to achieve what they wanted to achieve. And it's the most hope that this organization has had that they're going in the right direction in a very, very long time.
Fellas, appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Except that Easter B.O.B. But it was good to remember that. I appreciate you, fellas. All right. Later.
Bye.
Have a good night.
All right. So perfect process so far. We're 3 weeks into the Lovie Smith process. In a very short time, 3 weeks time to be exact, you've had an organization act swiftly. You've had top candidates wanting this gig. You've had more activity from ownership, and it seems like ownership had an impact on making the decision that most of us wanted. You hired the most popular candidate. You hired the most sought-after candidate. He wanted nothing to do with the Indianapolis Colts. He didn't take the Walmart money, and he wants to be here. So you got someone who wants to be here. You got someone who a lot of people want, and you got a lot of excitement. And most importantly, you got a lot of assets and a lot of reason to feel really, really good about where you are as a Texans fan. I feel good about this. You should feel good about this. I'll talk to DeMeco Ryans this week. If he is hired, he'll be on the show, guaranteed. Well, not guaranteed, but pretty sure about it because Lovey was last year. And we'll be at the press conference. And I appreciate all you for riding along. It was the channel started at the start of the season. There were some bad days. There were some bad times. Didn't know if we'd ever get to this point. They got rid of the POS, Jack Easterby. They traded Deshaun Watson. Deshaun got his new home. Now they got assets. They got cap space. And most important thing at this point, they got the right guy, the most qualified guy, the most exciting guy to oversee things. And make no mistake about it, DeMeco Ryans is the new face of the Houston Texans organization. It's not Nick Caserio. It's not anyone else. It is DeMeco Ryans. These are DeMeco Ryans Texans, and it's going to be fun. And we're going to ride this wave together no matter what. Appreciate y'all for coming in. Subscribe, like. The likes do help. Subscriptions help. I'll be on the air tomorrow. 10 a.m. in the Loop, Sports Radio 610. Keep it going. Number one source for Texans content, players, coaches, owners, all that type of stuff. And the number one source for digital content as well. Appreciate you for riding along. Here's to better, more exciting days, no matter what happens. Whether DeMeco is a future Hall of Famer, whether it's a flop, no matter what, we are all in this together. Have a great night, and we're going to have a great week. I can guarantee that. Appreciate you.